Welcome back. So we are today going to look at our dates. All right, so turn to, it's one of the first pages in your packet. Okay, and we're going to start with a couple of things. Sorry, a little blurry. Okay, first thing that we're going to look at is the fact that you need to know time period is an era. Okay? All right, so on the STAAR test, we honestly don't know what direction they're going to go. Okay? We do know that these dates are specifically listed in our standards as testable. Many of them have been tested in the past. Many of them have been tested in multiple ways. So you'll kind of see that as we go. So the first date is 1898, Spanish-American War. Okay, so this was obviously between Spain and the United States. We went in, helped Cuba. This is the one where we got the Philippines, Guam. Okay, so the big thing is the territorial expansion that came along with this. Okay, all right, so 1898, Spanish-American War. Next date you need to know for STAAR is not until 1914 to 1918. This is World War I. Okay? Obviously, the United States didn't join in the beginning, but you don't officially have to know the specific date that we did, so we're not going to write it down. Next date that you do need to know is 1929, and this is the one that this date has been listed different ways. Sometimes it's just the stock market crashed. Sometimes it is listed as Black Tuesday. Once it was the date of the start of the Great Depression. Okay? Either way, this is what happened in 1929, and good news, you don't need to know a specific day and month or anything like that. All right, the next date, 1939 to 1945, that is World War II. However, it's interesting that it's put this way in particular because September 1st, 1939 is when Poland was officially invaded. That was when World War II started in Europe. However, the United States did not join. Okay, we had Lend-Lease, we had Neutrality Acts. Until Pearl Harbor was bombed by the Japanese, we did not join officially. Okay, so the one date that I would add is December 7th, 1941. That was the Pearl Harbor attack. Okay, all right, next date that you need to know was during the Cold War, and that was 1957. Sputnik launch ignites the space race with the Soviet Union. Then we have, sorry, I had to reposition there, two dates. One is a more socio-political date. In 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And then in 1969, the moon landing. So although we were beat to space by the Soviets, we won the race to the moon. All right. Our next date is not until 1991, with the end of the Cold War, with the fall of the Soviet Union. Okay. Then, next date is 2001. This was the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. 2008, election of Barack Obama, first African American president. Now, I will point out a couple of things. First thing that I want to point out, right here, okay? So from here to here, that is, oh sorry, you can't actually see that. So I put one about 1954. Okay? Guys, in 1954, that is when the Brown versus the Board of Education. Okay? So I'll just write that. Guys, from 1954 to 2008, we elected an African American president. Guys, irregardless of politics, we're putting all of that aside. The fact that in 1954, African Americans were still drinking out of separate water fountains, and most in the South could not even vote. They couldn't even exercise their right to vote. To just this amount of time, and we have an African American president. That, my friends, is huge. All right, turn your paper sideways, and we're going to do something else. So, even though as you go through class, your class is taught more linear, meaning this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. The issue with that is that it actually didn't. Okay? So what I'm going to show you are the dates where there was actually a lot of overlap. Okay? For instance, I'm going to draw a line right here, and we're going to go out that way. And obviously, like the stapling and the holes and all that kind of stuff is going to cause issues, but we're okay. This is the Gilded Age. Okay? Big business, laissez-faire, child labor, urbanization, okay? So during the Gilded Age, when industrialization is happening, we realize very quickly that cities are struggling. They can't keep up with the amount of people that are moving to the cities. So people are automatically going to start trying to fix the problems of the Gilded Age. So around 1890, so I'm going to put a line right there. From 1890 to about 1920. I'm going to do another line here. This time period is the Progressive Era. Okay? The goal of the Progressive Era was to fix the issues in the Gilded Age. Okay? Now, both of these, this one and this one, are domestic. They're both happening here inside the United States. But while this is happening, I'm going to draw another line around 1920. okay? And then I'm going to draw another line way up here. And I'm going to connect it very, very badly. It's going to bug me, but I can't help it, okay? During both the Gilded Age and the Progressive Era, you have a time period, and depending on what your teacher calls it, it could be called expansion, or I tended to call it imperialism. Okay? So, Spanish-American War, where we're adding territory. World War I, where we are focused on outside of the country. Right here is where we annexed Hawaii. Okay? So, this time period, there was a lot going on. Even if a president wants to be just focused on domestic issues, they can't. They're going to have to be focused on international issues as well. Okay? All right. So, let's keep moving on down the road. From about 1920 to 1929, the Roaring Twenties. Okay? From 29 to about 39 to 41. You can kind of move that around a little bit. This is the Great Depression and New Deal. Okay, so Roaring Twenties, Great Depression, and New Deal. If you remember what we've talked about in class, the one thing, I mean, we want to say that the New Deal did what it was supposed to and brought us out of the Great Depression. The one thing that brought us out of the Great Depression was World War II. Okay? We would all love to say that all of the programs worked, but the reality is that war production is what got us out of the Great Depression. Okay? All right. So from here, okay, I'm going to show you another long time period. Okay? I'm going to start in about 1950, and I'm going to stop around 1991. And I'm going to connect the two. Why? Because this is the Cold War era. All of this together. Okay? It is a long stretch of history. Okay? So the time period that we're looking at is long. So one of the things that's going to happen, and the dates here are not exact, we have the Korean War, and then in the 70s, we have the Vietnam War. Okay? Now, kind of like we were talking about previously, we were studying these things at a different time, okay? The Korean War, Vietnam War, these are both foreign. What was going on at home? At home, it was the civil rights movement, okay? So while Vietnam is going on, and my dates are a little off, but it's okay. While Vietnam is going on, the civil rights movement is. Okay? All right. With several different things that happened, one of the changes that are going to take place in America after Vietnam is going to be the conservative resurgence. Remember, when we talked about what a conservative is, okay? This is going to be a fundamental change to politics, okay? It's going to change how politicians approach their offices, all right? It's not just about them personally being part of a religious group. They are going to approach their religion differently and apply it differently to their political office. Okay? From here, all that we have left for the rest is the modern era. Okay? So this is the rest of it just goes into modern era. Okay? So I know it looks a little convoluted, but these are the main time periods that you are responsible for understanding how they fit together. Okay? It's not just one thing ever going on at a time here in the United States. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Good luck.